When it comes to intergalactic confrontation, no one can beat Chef Ramsay.
Excellent work, Ramsay.
So what's next?
Why don't you try relaxing?
But now, he's about to land in a place even he isn't prepared for. Suburbia.
Get to know the locals. Blend in.
How do you know which ones are the right ones?
You have to squeeze it a bit.
Wow, I found a good one.
Here, they have strange ways of fighting.
You got any idea what we're gonna do to you?
Let me guess. You're gonna pound my face.
What are you, nuts? This is the 90s. We're gonna sue you.
They have bizarre means of protection.
Stand back. You are too close. Back up now. No, please, wait. Let's talk about this. No.
There are dangers he's never seen.
My mom could stay on longer than that.
And enemies he's never known.
I hate Suburbia.
So you'd better not fake him out.
Must be a K7 force field. I'll break you out of there. Glad I could help.
Or take him on. For Hulk Hogan, it's no game. It's war.
Do you belong to some kind of army? Or do you just go around doing good like some kind of superhero?
Hulk Hogan, Christopher Lloyd.
I was frozen today.
Suburban Commando.
My cat. My cat. That's not my cat.
Oh.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes on podcast services by searching They Call This Movie and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello. Watching this movie today, I had a thought, disconnected completely from the movie, so it won't be part of when I talk about it later. But I think it's maybe because of how much theater prices have gone up in terms of tickets. I sat and watched this. I was like, some people actually paid money to sit in the theater and watch this movie. Like, I was like it was like a weird phenomenon. Like, the only time I go to the movies anymore, outside of when, obviously, if something's stupid I want to see on Movie Pass, tend to be either, you'll consider this dumb, but like Fast and Furious movies or things that are like big tentpole things you have to see in the theater. So I sat around going, who would have said, I guess it's kids stuff is different back then, but like, we're going to go see Suburban Commando, the Hulk Hogan movie, as a night out on this weekend. It just, for some reason, it just popped in my head, just the thought of like the difference in movie going between like now and then. Just a random thing that popped in my head.
Sure. One might say that you might be the problem, Mark. I mean... You're only shelling out money for your big popcorn movies, and then meanwhile, small little indies like Suburban Commando, they don't make their money back, and then cinema is affected by that. And I don't think you realize that. You come in here acting like the good guy, like you're giving Vin Diesel your money, but then there's these people, $6.9 million worth of people that sat there and watched Suburban Commando so they could support the Shelley Duvalls of the world.
And the Terry Bolleas, giving their money.
Yeah, because he's definitely one that's hurting for money.
You know what? Larry Miller needs to eat too, man.
Yeah.
Can't just allow Vin Diesel to buy more Coronas.
I also think, and part of this just sort of came to my mind right now, I believe what I was feeling was just how much maybe like streaming has ruined everything. It's because this feels like this would be like a straight to stream sort of movie rather than one that went in theaters now. Or maybe I'm just overthinking it. But yeah.
I can see this being an Amazon Prime movie.
Yeah.
Sure. And starring John Cena.
Of course.
Aquafina.
Yeah.
That might actually be. Well, I could probably find someone better than Aquafina. Yeah,
You
but John
can,
Cena's
but
perfect.
you can, but can Jeff Bezos find Aquafina? I don't think so.
No,
He's
no,
all on the Aquafina train, baby.
yeah, but yeah, that was just something at the very beginning of the movie when all the credits and stuff and the opening it just popped into my head. I was like, there are actually people that spent their hard-earned money to watch this in theaters. And it also, I guess, it just seems like kids' movies are different nowadays. I guess most of those just go right to streaming rather than. I can't think of the last really, without digging deep into it, live action kids movie that I don't know.
Cody Banks 2.
Was that the last live action one?
Last one. They haven't made one in 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a note to go off on.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, it's all Illumination, Disney, Pixar, like DreamWorks stuff.
Or maybe Judy Moody and the Not Bummer Summer. Maybe that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't make this kind of kids movie anymore from what I can feel.
Would you count the movie If? Right? If is a kids movie with Ryan Reynolds.
I don't know. Was it geared towards kids? I suppose.
There's a kid in it.
Yeah.
I guess that if a kid's in it, it's a kid's movie. Right?
That's true. Yeah. Jerry Maguire, kids movie.
Kids movie.
Kids love to watch Kelly Preston just bang Tom Cruise's balls off.
Those bees smell fear.
Well, yeah, I suppose this movie is definitely a product of a bygone era in terms of how kids movies were. This is tough to even call a kids movie, to be honest.
There are certain moments where it's like, this is a kids movie.
That's true, but then there are certain moments where it's like, well, I don't know what this is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're talking around it. This week we watched a movie, and this week was Dan's pick. So, Dan, why don't you introduce this week's movie?
Sure. So the reason I chose today's movie is I realize we haven't talked about our old friend Terry Bollea, aka Hulk Hogan, and we haven't had a chance to bring him down a peg in quite a while. So I went with the 1991 Suburban Commando.
All right. And where are you coming from with it?
First time seeing this, actually. I'd seen... Yeah, surprising. For whatever reason, it was always on my radar. I just don't think I ever caught it anywhere, and I never went out of my way to watch it.
Okay. This was a movie that was on your radar. I was like, oh, I'm going to check that out one day. Just haven't had the time. When I get around to watching, after I've watched all the other movies that have come out, I'll finally sit down and watch Suburban Commando.
I wish we had the memory or some kind of recall, because I feel like you made the same best joke to me about a movie that we watched like in the last year. Like, oh, this is the movie you put in a thing to come back to.
Was it Mom and Dad Save the World?
No, it was something like that I should have probably seen.
This was more along the lines of when I was younger, because obviously as a wrestling mark, I liked Hulk Hogan before I knew how terrible he was, and I must have seen a coming attraction for this movie or whatever. I'm like, oh, I want to see that. So it was on my radar in that sense. As time went on, I had forgotten about it, and I would see other people talking about this movie, like the Nostalgia Critic covered this movie at one point, and I didn't care enough to really go out of my way and watch it, though. I didn't really know what the movie was about. I knew he was an extraterrestrial, he was basically an alien commando. But I thought it was just going to be a straight up kids movie, and it kind of is, but it really isn't. There's some weird gags in this movie that come out of nowhere. There's like a talking car that pleads with Hulk Hogan's character to just leave it alone. He beats an arcade game so badly it waves a white flag.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this was supposed to be like satirical or like goofy in that way, or if it was just trying to be a kids movie. I don't know. But he doesn't spend any time with kids, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But all the jokes feel very late 80s, early 90s kids movie.
Yeah. Here's a question, Dan. Did you enjoy it?
I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to hate it. And that's not to say that, I thought Hulk Hogan was great in it. He's easily the worst part of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But Christopher Lloyd plays a character, and he plays the character so well, of a man who is this close to just driving off a bridge. And I know that feeling and I know that look because I've been there. Just oh, this would be so great if I just went into a head-on collision or something. Just let's see what happens. But he's great. Shelley Duvall is great in this. They wasted her in this movie.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, like she's only in it for maybe 15, 20 minutes of the movie. Larry Miller is completely wasted in this movie. There's a weird plot of an alien conqueror, General Suitor, who's in the beginning and the end, and that's it. So it's a fish out of water movie that doesn't understand how to be a fish out of water movie for the most part. Yeah. Because what makes a fish out of water movie funny is when the person who is out of their element is with a person who is in their element, and the person who's in their element explaining things to the one who's not from that area. And they don't do that in this movie.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, Mark, Suburban Commando, where you come from?
So picking up on Dan's last point, it very much felt like a fish out of water movie where the fish that was out of water knew about the water. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like he already knew everything, but was kind of like out of place. It was just weird because like he already knew they were Earthlings, and he knew like some of the technology and stuff. So that was weird. But I think the main thing that I took away from it, like a bunch of stuff I said from the beginning, is that I think it was attempting to. It was very much a lot of the stuff at this point at the tail end of the mega popularity of Hogan, where they were trying to turn him into like this kids movie star. Like they knew the action star didn't really work, because I think like Mr. Nanny and this and the Three Ninjas movie coming up, all that, like try to get him into that. It just does not work. He's a lot of the reason why you couldn't really pinpoint what it's supposed to be doing, Dan.
Yeah.
Because he's A, not a great actor, and B, he even makes cheesy lines way cheesier than they need to be in this. And if it wasn't for Christopher Lloyd, I don't think I would have enjoyed this movie at all. He portrayed that character, and Dan, you described it better than I ever could in what this man was feeling. In that is it very much felt like a guy that was like hair trigger from just becoming Michael Douglas and falling down. Like
that's a good one too, yeah.
Just hair trigger from that. And it was because of how smarmy Larry Miller's character was. We've all been there with bosses. It was how too casual, Shelley Duvall was about things, in terms of, going, yeah, we got all these expenses. Just ask your boss for a raise. It'll happen. And he's like, that's not how it works,
right.
Sort of thing there. And then he's thrown the Hulk Hogan shows up and had, I guess, sort of the T2 scene before T2 in terms of taking that guy's clothes.
Yeah.
But then it raises the question, like, I don't remember if he still had the bag on him, but when they found his equipment inside the ship, I was like, how did he get the clothes he was wearing to the ship? I can't remember if he still had the bag on him after he changed clothes. But yeah, it was just I tolerated this movie a lot more than I thought I would, just because a lot of it very much the plot of the movie and the idea of the movie is a pretty decent kids movie if you have a better lead in the Hogan role as an actor. Even a John Cena nowadays would make this movie 100 times better, because I think Cena can play the dumb tough guy thing and make it seem like real, and not that Hogan always seems like he's winking at the camera with every line he delivers, and not so much just embodying the character. I think was it Patriot that Cena plays is very much that dumb, violent, more violent than Suburban Commando is.
Peacekeeper.
Peacemaker.
Yeah. Sorry.
Peacemaker. Yeah. But he very much like he's earnestly playing that. It's not like every time he delivers like a very a line that wouldn't be, that would be cringe or whatever you want to call it. He doesn't seem like he's looking at the audience going, see, that was because I'm weird. Get it? And yeah, I think that's the main part. Two other things I really enjoyed is Shelley Duvall is criminally underused in this movie. She is amazing in every scene she's in this. And I don't know, the direction was just be herself. Like it was just like be weird Shelley Duvall, and just as this guy's wife here. So I think they could have used her a lot more. And I don't know if you guys noticed this. The music choice at the end when he's doing the montage of walking and meeting all the people in the neighborhood again, just feels like an 80s sitcom music. It's like got a lot of stingers and sort of, between interstitials with the characters. And it was just making me laugh. Like, what was this music choice for here? Like, that would be the time when like the theme of the movie should be playing. And instead it's this weird choice of music. And then randomly found out through the credits and had to rewind that little annoying girl with the cat is apparently Elizabeth Moss.
It is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, wait a second. I had to rewind it.
Famed Scientologist herself, Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
That blew my mind when I found out about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. But yeah. And the other fun part was I love that I know it's probably a bit in the movie, but I wonder if Vince McMahon told the producers and writers of this movie, well, one of the producers was Hogan, writers in all of this movie, that Mark Calloway could not speak.
Oh,
in this
maintain kayfabe for the Undertaker.
Maintain kayfabe for the Undertaker. And I laughed. I laughed 2 times out loud. The one time was just because I know the history with Undertaker and all that stuff and Mark Calloway. When his character actually talks in the movie, that was pretty funny. It's a very high pitched, like Mickey Mouse type thing, where Hogan doesn't have to say, but him saying, "No wonder why you guys don't speak," was another one of those lines that didn't need to be said. The joke was already made. And there was a line, Christopher Lloyd says something to Hogan, and I forget it now. I had him. I should have wrote it down.
Was it I was frozen today?
Oh, no, actually, I know it's Christopher Lloyd, but thank you for bringing up the Frozen. For like 35 minutes of this movie, Christopher Lloyd was just wet, like sweat and from Frozen. He was just wet for like the middle part of this movie. And Hogan is totally clean as standing next to him. It made me laugh when they go into the bank or they go into the hideout, and he's just drenched in sweat, Christopher Lloyd. And it just made me, that's what made me laugh out loud. Like, it was just such a great choice, because I could see him going, yeah, he's running around in a suit. Of course he'd be sweating, director. Like, spray that sweat spray on me, here. Like,
I think that's supposed to be him defrosted, no?
No, before they go to the, like, he's a scene where he's sweaty when they're doing all the running around before going to the bank.
Gotcha.
When they're doing the tracking, the thing. Like,
with the PKE meter.
Yeah, when they go to find where he saved the woman, he's really sweaty there, and then it just gets worse with the Frozen. But oh man, that was pretty good. But yeah, this movie is very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Like not offensive, in that, it's not like going to be the death of cinema or something like that, movie that they just sent out to make money. It's a decent movie, and that's because the thing I've always said on podcasts and previous podcasts is that if you have the supporting cast and the foundation, you can carry a terrible lead to a decent movie. And the 3 characters we've mentioned over and over, Larry Miller, Shelley Duvall, and Christopher Lloyd, make this movie watchable. And it's a truism that just goes throughout all movies. Suburban Commando is no different.
Okay. Yeah. I think I've seen this movie a bunch of times when I was a kid. And I liked it when I was a kid. I liked Hulk Hogan, as Dan mentioned, when you're a kid, of course you like Hulk Hogan, but he is a charisma vacuum. And I think that's the difference between him and John Cena. Cena is a charming person. Hulk Hogan is not a charming person
exactly
whatsoever. But I am another that did not hate this movie. There are stupid jokes, but the stupid jokes kind of work for me. The cat in the tree, when he lets it go, when the cat gets yeeted into the stratosphere. It's a stupid joke, but I laughed. And then when it comes back and Elizabeth Moss gets tossed, I laughed again.
The dummy flying through the air was great.
Yeah.
Exactly. Larry Miller's good in it. He's barely in it though, which sucks. As you guys mentioned,
Yeah.
It is weird that there isn't like a kid co-star in this. I think that is what is lacking to make this like a pretty solid kids movie, because most of those most kids movies have that kind of like kid that the kids can identify with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't hate this movie, and you know what? Shelley Duvall's great in it, and you know what? When she's wearing that wig and she's trying to make Christopher Lloyd feel a little bit better, hear me out. Yeah. Shelley Duvall looking good.
I told Jen, I was like, if Shelley Duvall came on to me like that, yeah, it's going down.
Yeah, like maybe as I approach 40 and my tastes change, I suppose, as I get older, but Shelley Duvall's looking good in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we needed a little bit more Shelley Duvall in this movie. Trying to get Christopher Lloyd all boned up.
Mm-hmm.
Just to really drive home the point that she's trying her best. You get that one scene. But yeah, give me more Shelley Duvall in some skimpy clothing in this movie. I'm all in, man.
Other jokes, like when he finally throws the newspaper at the paper boy, that made me laugh.
The next door neighbors saying that they were going to sue Hulk Hogan.
That's a good moment. Yeah. This is the night. This is, what are you going to do? You're going to beat me up and blah blah blah, drag my face across the concrete? No, this is the 90s. We're going to sue you.
You'll be hearing from our lawyer. But that's what I mean. Like, this movie, I don't know if it has an identity, really.
Well, there are moments where you watch it, it was like you have to remind yourself that it's a kid's movie, because the warehouse scene where Christopher Lloyd saves, I can only assume is a prostitute, from a violent sexual assault
and gets shot
is frightening for what this movie is supposed to be. But yeah, I didn't, in spite of Hulk Hogan, this movie does kind of work. It does steal some things from Star Wars. I watched the opening scene and I was like, man, I hope George didn't see this, because be on the phone with his lawyers right quick.
Speaking of the beginning, the set pieces in that spaceship are terrible.
Yes.
It's not a good looking spaceship.
Not at all.
And it maybe one thing that I was not expecting was, so I figured the main villain would be a bigger part of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hogan. Yeah. It was General Suter. It would come down looking at Hulk Hogan. But he's barely in it. I think what this movie needed was a Larry Miller General Suter team up, because now you have a reason for Christopher Lloyd's character to really be involved with Hulk Hogan, and instead of just following him around for whatever reason. But like you could have, like, General Suter needs the crystals that Larry Miller's character has, and in return he will give Larry Miller anything he wants, kind of thing. So they're in tandem. Christopher Lloyd has to work with Hulk Hogan to stop both of them. It's the classic team up.
Yeah, in a more adult movie, Larry Miller would be more of a Lex Luthor character.
Yeah, exactly.
Than what he's just a horrible boss in this version, because it's easier for kids to understand that. In terms of, this guy's just he's taking credit for something we did. I understand that.
Right.
He's
a mean guy. Every kid can understand. Oh, he's mean.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see that. That'd been an interesting change to this film.
Yeah.
And as you said, Anthony, I think having Hogan connect with both of the kids, the son and the daughter, I think that makes it a little easier for kids to like Hulk Hogan because, who doesn't want to be friends with Hulk Hogan, right? What kid at that time period didn't want to be friends with him?
Yeah.
So getting that relationship fleshed out a little more, and it also gives a reason for why Hogan likes the family instead of just Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, I think that is kind of what's missing is his connection to anybody, really, Hulk Hogan. Because I know we're forced to believe that Christopher Lloyd and Hulk Hogan come to a friendship at the end, but really it's over a couple of over one day, really, where they eventually become this duo of sorts, and that's only after most of the movie is over until once they start going trying to find that gun that they lost, really. So there's really no moment of like, we're simpatico, sort of. It's just like, I need to get this and you need to help me. There's
right,
no
I'm forcing you to help me with this.
Yeah, there's no real endearment towards each other. It's just a thing that has to happen. And then at the end, it's like, oh, really have to leave. And it's like this heartfelt moment is kind of cheated because you guys didn't really have that sort of connection, right?
I did enjoy that the politics were very progressive. They were not upset about a possible gay marriage in this movie. Did not seem weird to that drive-through operator.
Mark Calloway and Tony Longo.
I agree. I think to your point again, you needed that scene between Hogan and Christopher Lloyd to happen somewhere in the middle. Like they're sitting down in the living room, or they're sitting down in the guest house or whatever, or wherever, and they have that heart to heart where Christopher Lloyd talks about how when he was younger, he wanted to take the world by the bull by the horns, and he was going to set out and conquer, blah blah blah. But just something in him died, and I got this job, and I became a nobody, blah blah blah. And Hogan kind of giving him that pep talk, like, no, you're a good guy, Charlie. You're a good family man. Don't let that get out of sight or whatever, But they don't have that. It's saved to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. The when it actually occurs, what you guys are talking about, is when at the end when he tells his family, he beat him with his bare hands,
right?
And that seems to be the thing that triggers him going in and quitting and all that stuff.
And the ending of this movie is so embarrassing. General Suter just being some guy in a rubber costume.
Yeah.
You look like Zat from that movie, and you're like, oh man, it's such a letdown of what the creature could have been.
He kind of looks like a predator, a little bit.
Yeah,
it's like a leftover predator costume.
Or creature from the Black Lagoon. A
Frog monster.
God, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah,
a nice little mixture of those three.
So, Suburban Commando from 1991 is directed by Burt Kennedy, who directed a whole bunch of westerns, which is probably where the Jack Elam connection comes from. But support your local gunfighter, support your local sheriff, the train robbers, Annie Calder, and a movie we've covered before, Concrete Cowboys.
Oh,
really? Oh, that's with
Selleck.
That's right.
Selleck, yeah.
Wow.
Stars Hulk Hogan, Christopher Lloyd, Shelley Duvall, Larry Miller, Jack Elam, Tony Longo, Mark Calloway, and Dennis Berkeley. IMDb score of 4.6, Rotten Tomato score of 15%. Budget $11 million. Box office 6.9.
Nice.
There you go. And Roger Ebert gave it 1 star. I read his review earlier today too.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know, man. What could have been, I guess. But was this? I still think this might have been Hogan's best movie.
It probably is.
I mean, there's not many more. We've covered most of them.
Yeah, the only one that might compare is maybe Mr. Nanny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, like Santa with Muscles is terrible.
Yes.
No Holds Barred is bad but fun.
Right. For like a coked up binge of a movie, sure. It's fun to see. But it was all, unless you were a wrestling fan, that movie is terrible.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Nanny does have a whacked out David Johansen in it.
I don't think I've ever seen Mr. Nanny.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, though. It's on my radar. It's on my radar.
Okay. As an adult man.
As a man near his 40s.
30 years later, maybe I'll get around to Mr. Nanny.
I wonder who will see it first, me or my son.
You guys want to get into the plot?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Dan, what do you got for us?
Okay, guys, you know the deal. Go check out a couple friends of the podcast. First and foremost, the Top 10 with Tia. If you've listened to us for a while, you know we've had Tia on quite a few times. She's a lot of fun, and she has her very own podcast with her and her co-host Brittany, where they just run down top 10 lists of the week. So if that's something you enjoy, go to geekvibesnation.com, search the Top 10 with Tia, it'll pop right up. And last but not least, our very own Mark Myers has his own podcast, where it is on every podcast platform that you know of. It comes out bi-weekly every other Monday. So please go check that out. Give them a follow there. Mark also streams on Twitch at Game Vault Pod, where he talks about video game news, video games that he's playing, stuff that you should be on the lookout for. And he's playing old school games on there, some new school. I don't know if that's a thing, new school games. So go check that out. And also follow them on all the socials at Game Vault Pod.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into plot for Suburban Commando. We open after an opening that is really close to getting sued by George Lucas, as there's a space fight between something that looks suspiciously like a Star Destroyer and some smaller ships. We get a scene where Space Emperor Suitor is trying to get a space president to surrender his planet to him.
They just look like they used toys for that scene and not like made models. It's like they bought a toy at like the local Toys R Us or something, and that's why it looks so suspiciously close to Star Wars.
Maybe they used some original figs.
Yeah.
But then he gets a message that there's an intruder on the and Suitor knows it's instantly that it's Shep Ramsey, played by Hulk Hogan, who at that moment is making his way through a nameless soldiers as he makes his way to the control room where the Emperor told the president. Gets to the control room and he gets knocked down and taken hostage, but when Suitor is distracted, the president throws something akin to a ninja at the Emperor and knocks his hand clean off, and then the Emperor starts showing his true form with claws underneath his human-like disguise. The Emperor grabs the president by the throat and kills him. Shep makes his escape while planting some charges throughout the ship as he runs to an escape pod. The ship explodes as he flies off into the escape pod.
So immediately, the first thing that entered my mind in this part was Shep, Hulk Hogan, failed his job.
Yes.
And he's the hero.
Well, he gets called on it by his commanding officer.
But he lets him go with like a little slap on the wrist. He's like, oh, you've been stressed lately. Mm-hmm. It's okay. No one's blaming you for this. When it's directly your fault.
Yeah. He does let him know that he acknowledges that he did not save the president. The old Shep would have saved the president.
That's right. Yeah. It reminded me of Stone Cold.
Very much. He gets in contact with his superior, who says he doesn't have much work for him at the moment, and also takes Shep to task for letting the president die. Shep gets heated and slams his hands on the console of the escape pod, which causes him to destroy the power source of it. As his superior tells him he needs to land somewhere that he will be able to hide out and work on replacing that power source.
Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and it just happens that he looks relatively like somebody that lives on Earth and speaks the Earth language.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's called Common, Mark.
Common.
He speaks Common. Yeah. I hate. This is one of the things I really hate about this movie is that the whole, I guess, crux of it is his own doing. He damages his own spaceship and has to land. It's not damaged from the explosion or from an attack. It's just Hulk Hogan being a brute and damaging like an idiot his own spacecraft. Like, oh well, now you got to just go repair it. Like, I feel like that. So in the first 5 minutes of this movie, our hero has failed to save the president and damaged his own spaceship where it needs to be repaired. He's 0 for 2 right now.
Yeah. I'm just thinking it's like he doesn't have an arc. Like it seems like that would be a good moment set up that he has to try and figure out how to be less than just his brute force. Like more than that. He has to find another side to him. Like he has, and it might come in Mr. Nanny because he does interact with the kids a little bit more in that movie. But like he starts he gets in touch with his feminine side or something like that. Something stupid, very 90s speak of it, but where he has an arc and he beats Suitor that way, and then maybe he like stays on Earth. It's like, I think I'm going to stick around for a while, and he goes on a cross-country road trip with the secretary or something like that.
Yeah,
just banging in all 50 states.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a great like ending, final line. She wants to make all 50 states, whatever that means. Like that look from Christopher Lloyd. Whoa, wow.
I like your little Christopher Lloyd impression there coming through a little bit.
Yeah, I've worked really hard on it.
Shep laments that it's going to take 6 weeks to do, so his superior tells him that it would be a good time to take those 6 weeks and relax. That's exactly what I mean. It's like that never happens.
No.
Yeah, unless if a lot more time passes than we're led to.
Right.
From the get-go, he's not relaxing at all. He's doing a bunch of things around the neighborhood, right? He's helping certain people out, but he's not laying low. He's not learning anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that is the one scene where he starts going around the neighborhood and helping people starts with him trying to relax. So there is that moment, but it's literally like 4 seconds. But he's so bothered by all the suburban noise that he stops trying to take a nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah. And that's it.
There could have been a scene where like Shelley Duvall's like have to meditate or something like that,
Yeah.
That could have been a scene.
It could have been a running gag of the movie where all he wants to do is relax and something pops up where he can't relax.
Yeah. This movie should be about a suburban commando trying to take a vacation.
Yeah,
trying to learn how to take a vacation.
Yes. I think that's a much more interesting movie.
Yeah. But he's going to spend those 6 weeks on Earth, and Shep hates. We don't know why. After credits,
something we could have learned about too. Maybe he had been there and lost somebody. Like he had a partner.
Mm-hmm. Maybe knock somebody up.
Yeah. He owes space alimony.
After a quick credit sequence featuring a terrible song, we make it home to the home of the Wilcoxes. Christopher Lloyd plays patriarch Charlie Wilcox, who is putting the finished touches on a blueprint project that he spent all weekend working on. His wife, Jenny, played by Shelley Duvall, tells him it's about time he goes into his boss's office and demands a raise.
Real quick, Ant.
Yep.
The song, it's like a rap song, right? You're talking about? Does Hulk Hogan narrate it?
I think they sample his voice for it, where it's like, it's a nice place, but I wouldn't want to visit. A nice place to live, but I wouldn't want to visit. Something like that.
Yeah, like nah.
Yeah, it's terrible. Charlie goes to work and psychs himself up to try and get a raise into his boss's office, played by Larry Miller. Shows off the work that he did all weekend on the blueprints. As Charlie is about to ask for a raise, his boss fast talks him and heads him off at the pass to change the subject right before he can ask. He then ushers him out of his office to show the plans Charlie worked on to the Japanese businessman clients and take credit for all Charlie's work. Shep lands his spaceship on Earth in some abandoned disco club. Meanwhile, Charlie is driving home in rush hour traffic, getting stuck at a stoplight. And Shep walks down the main street. So, this going back to that, Charlie, just run the yellow, man.
Yeah.
Just fucking run the yellow.
Yeah, they didn't have any cameras back then.
Step on the gas, yeah.
I get what they're trying to do there, right? He doesn't take risks. Right. I get that. But it's every day.
I think almost it's like he's playing by the rules and he's expecting to be rewarded for it, right? Because that's how he lives his life with Larry Miller, right? He's going to do his work. And that's exactly what Larry Miller tells him he is. And that's why he's such a valuable asset to his team, is that he's there to do what he's told, right?
Right.
And he's been doing this for so long, thinking that eventually Larry is going to work, but it never happens.
Yeah. There were certain parts that I think are more impactful for Charlie's characteristics, where, how he handles his next door neighbor, how he handles his boss, how he handles his wife. I think those are far more impactful than not running the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
That just, to me, that is kind of just like, all right, well, he's playing it safe there, which I can kind of understand, but it I don't think it has the same impact as all those other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, do they use the same footage twice?
Oh, I bet.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same exact shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no point in shooting that twice.
No, the only reason you shoot it the third time is because, something different happened.
Right.
And the car has to look different at that point, or your script supervisor should be fired.
Yes. Shep then walks down Main Street dressed in gawk at him, though looks like space hasn't advanced the technology of duffel bags. He helps a woman.
I'm sorry, because you mentioned the duffel bags. I had written in my notes at the very beginning, the spaceship has an elevator, just your standard elevator. And I was thinking to myself, why would they not have something futuristic, like a little tube that like sucks you up or brings you down or whatever? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or like Star Trek, they had those lifts. It wasn't just a regular elevator that you would find in a high rise.
He helps a woman get her change back from an RC Cola machine, sponsored by RC Cola apparently.
Yeah.
Beats up a guy that stuck his dog in a hot car and takes the guy's clothes.
Yeah, that's based. I get that. Also
lets the dog eat the guy's food at a fancy restaurant. But he didn't do anything to that guy, Mr. Nanny, that throws his dog in the water.
I don't think he saw it. That's still one of the craziest off camera, or like not off camera because you see it, but
accidental.
Yeah. Like just someone throwing their dog in the fucking lake.
Shep then sees a sign for an apartment for rent and goes to check it out. Meanwhile, Charlie gets home and he gets into what seems to be an ongoing argument with neighbors, fixing up hot rods in the driveway. He almost gets run over by another car and then gets into it with his other neighbor, who is played by Jack Elam and is some sort of war veteran coot.
I would love to have someone that lived next door to me like that. a drunk general.
You would have to deal with the darker sides of that because
it's not as light, I'm sure.
He's also probably going to say some pretty heinous things about immigrants.
Well, if we had this version of the general or the colonel, it's fun. It's light. You should have handled that better, Wilcox. You should have done this. Should have done that. I would like to, when I come home, have someone tell me something like that. It'd be funny.
Yeah.
And honestly, Dan, when I saw that actor for the first time and the way they interacted, in my head I was like, I could actually see Dan doing this interaction with this guy. Saying, "Hey, Colonel."
Yeah, of course, that'd be great. There should have been a scene where the Colonel, Charlie, and Shep all make a plan to get out General Suter, right? Because this reminds me of my days in Nam or whatever. I guess he would have been World War II, whatever it is. This reminds me of the Da Nang, and this is what we did here, blah blah blah. And they make some sort of plan to stop the bad guy. Because other than that, he's just like a throwaway gag.
Yep, that's all he is. But it's Jack Elam, famous movie cowboy, Once Upon a Time in the West. So support your local sheriff, which is a movie directed by this director.
Did you ever see that movie?
I have not seen Support Your Local Sheriff.
Gotcha.
I'm a fan of westerns, though.
Yeah, speaking of on the radar, maybe we put that on there.
Oh, maybe it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's got a 7.5 on IMDb. Seems a little high.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Could be worth a watch for just in general.
Mm-hmm. Charlie comes home and throws himself on the couch, and then Jenny tries to cheer him up by offering him sex. As we mentioned, Shelley Duvall could oddly get it in this movie, but he says he's too upset, so he's going into the garage and hit things with a hammer. He walks into the garage, he finds that Jenny has somehow turned the garage into an apartment in a single day, but she says that it solves their problem of Charlie not getting a raise because now they have income coming from the rents. And at that moment, there's a ring at the doorbell, and it's Shep ready to rent the family sits down with Shep for dinner, and Shep says that he's from France, which no one questions, and then proceeds to basically eat all the food on the table.
All right, if you can believe that Arnold Schwarzenegger is from Minnesota, I guess you could give Hulk Hogan a pass.
Mm-hmm. Later in the night, Charlie spies on Shep through the apartment window to see what he's up to. Then when Shep steps out, he sneaks in and starts looking through all his stuff and finds a laser gun that shoots and winds up going through the wall and blowing up his neighbor's hot rod.
It's never talked about again.
Nope. It's like no one ever notices.
Yeah. I was expecting the next scene to be right when he sees the neighbor again. What happened to my car? Do you know how much that cost? Blah blah blah. Like, no, just it's gone.
Yep. Meanwhile, Emperor Suitor enlists a couple of men to set out to find Shep, including himself, the Undertaker. The gun that Charlie winds up shooting sends a power signal that they pick up, but only enough to knock the galaxy down to half. Next morning, Charlie gets ready to go tell Shep that he needs today, but he gets intimidated by Shep shoulder pressing random items in the yard, so Charlie says nothing and takes the kids to school. After Charlie leaves, Shep hears Jenny screaming from the house, so he goes into the hero mode and runs in and pulls her off the couch into cover, but she's only watching a talk show that is talking about scream therapy to relieve stress. Could have been another moment where you could have had that come back later as Shep tries it.
Yeah. Like a bonding moment between him and Shelley Duvall's character.
Yeah. He then also attacks the mailman, throws a newspaper back at the paperboy. Then a bunch of neighborhood kids come by and get a look at this big guy, convince him to try their skateboard, but he immediately flies off, so he hits it and the kids run off in fear. He then starts off with a conversation with Jack Elam, and they trade their credentials of where they served.
It's probably the most normal conversation this guy has had.
Yeah.
Because to anyone else, Hulk Hogan's character just sounds as crazy as the Colonel.
Mm-hmm.
But the kid that he meets at the arcade also has a very normal conversation with Hulk Hogan.
I wasn't talking about Hogan. I was talking about the Colonel. Like, this is the most like normal. Like he's sharing war stories with this guy.
Right.
You know.
Hogan is matching his crazy. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Charlie continues the rat race with the other commuters. When he gets home, Shep is Jack Elam, as redneck neighbors once again block his driveway with their hot rods. Shep picks up the front of one and pushes it backwards to give Charlie room to get into his driveway. Rednecks come over and ask him if he knows what they're going to do to him if he damaged their hot rod. He gives them a long, elaborate answer that's threatening violence, but they say that they're just going to sue him because it's the 90s. They leave, and a couple of surfer dudes in their sports car almost Charlie's son, Mark, but Shep manages to pull Mark out of the way in time. Then he chases down the car and gets in front of them, so they have to stop, then tips the car over and pulls the door off. He's about to punch one of the surfer teens' lights out, but Charlie stops him and tells him to come back to the house. And back home, Jenny presents Shep with a chocolate cake for saving Charlie's life, and then the family gets a picture with him and as he eats the cake with his bare hands. At night, Charlie follows Shep out as he night jog. This is Hulk Hogan jogging. Made me laugh so much. He looks like the way toddler jogs.
Yeah, like someone who's just learning how to jog.
Yeah, it looked ridiculous.
I didn't know what he was doing at first. Where is he going? He's not wearing jogging equipment. He's wearing jeans.
He's wearing like mom jeans.
He's not prepared for a jog.
No, not at all.
And later in the movie, we see him wearing Zumbas.
Yeah, he does have pairs of Zumbas that he could have changed into.
That's what I'm saying.
In all fairness, though, when I go to the gym, there's always a guy that's in jeans. There's always one guy that's in jeans. And I'm like, man,
what are you doing?
More power to you, but I couldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
Yeah. The guy just didn't have any time between work and the gym. He just had to go in what he was wearing.
That's literally what it was when I would see it. It would be these two big Italian dudes, just like roided up Italian dudes, and it looked like they came straight from the work site.
Mm-hmm.
And they were wearing wife beaters and jeans. Yeah, stereotypical, I guess.
Shep foils a purse snatcher, talking car alarm, inadvertently assaults a mime. Makes it back to the abandoned disco to check the progress on his power source, but it says he still has 12 days before it's fully charged. Charlie watches him with the spaceship, and then when Shep leaves, he sneaks, takes a look at it. On his way home, Shep hears some space-like commotion coming from a building, and he ducks in to find an arcade where a kid is playing some sort of spaceship battle video game. Shep tries to coach the kid on what to do, but then ultimately pulls the kid off the game and starts playing it himself, and starts winning to the point that the arcade cabinet starts to overheat, and then a white flag pops out of the top, waving it in surrender.
That's just a weird way for an arcade game to end. Like that,
yeah,
if that was built in.
Yeah,
but and also it's in
Japanese.
It's there's two things about this scene. The first being they're talking about a space invaders type of game,
mm-hmm.
but they're playing like a jet simulator.
Yeah. Like a dogfighting video game.
Yeah. There's nothing.
Not Michael Vick dogfighting, but aircraft dogfighting.
Right, the better dog.
Yeah, Top Gun
But
dogfighting.
yeah, yeah. And the second being the flag, the white flag comes out from the back of the arcade where no one can see it.
Yeah.
So it's a pointless gag it's only useful for the audience. It means nothing to the people in the arcade.
Exactly. Yeah. After that, he walks by the mime again, whom he thinks is trying to the balcony, so he throws him up there to help him out. Back at the ship, Charlie checks out all of Shep's gear, including his body armor that has muscle amplifier, and uses his X-ray binoculars, which he uses to spot a woman in duress. And by duress, I mean under the threat of rape at gunpoint in a kids' movie.
Yeah. By guys.
Two guys, yes. Charlie jumps into action by putting on the armor and making his way to the abandoned warehouse where the two guys are getting ready to do unspeakable things to this woman. He orders them to let her go. They laugh at him. One of them shoots him, which bounces off the armor, but it makes Charlie lose his balance and fall backwards, putting him on his back like a turtle. So the guys drag off the woman, but Charlie manages to activate something in the armor that gets him back on his feet, and then he subdues the criminals.
Not before doing the worm.
Yes.
For some reason.
She says if there's any way to repay him, she'll do it. Which, again, this is a kid's movie, but he says doing good is its own reward, and he slinks off, dropping the gun, which across the galaxy, the Phenom and the catcher from Angels in the Outfield use the power source to track Shep's location. The next morning, Shep is trying to take a nap, but all the noise in the neighborhood keeps him awake, so he yells for everyone to shut up. He finds a girl crying because her cat is missing, the little girl played by Scientologist Elizabeth Moss. And Shep spots a cat in the tree, so he pulls down the branch, but the girl says that's not her cat, so he lets it go, launching the cat across the neighborhood.
R.I.P. that cat.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe it's got 8 left.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
Then goes on a walk and finds an old lady at a fruit stand. She gives him advice on how to find the best melon by squeezing it, and he does so, crushing it with his bare hands, covering the old lady in melon.
This is a pointless gag. Another pointless gag.
Yeah, as you probably already talked about, I think does the mime come up 3 or 4 times?
The mime comes back here. He also runs into the mime again, who runs sight of him.
Yeah.
He heads back to the ship to check in on the progress and sees that bounty hunters are heading towards his location and notices that his laser gun is missing. Shep goes to pay Charlie a visit at his office. The secretary just tells him he has to wait for Charlie to come out of a meeting. She tells him to take a seat, and he does literally. The door opens. Larry Miller escorts Japanese businessmen out and tells Charlie that he has to update and finish the blueprints tonight for the presentation. As Charlie leaves, Shep tells him that he needs to help him find the gun he lost. So he forces Charlie to drive him to the warehouse where he saved the woman, but there's no gun to be found. Shep remembers that he has a homing device that he brought with him, which he can use to find it, which is the exact prop used for the PKE meter in Ghostbusters. I do like the moment where he's like, well, why didn't we just use
That's it. Shut up.
So they go off using the homing device, which gets them to a bank. They go inside to find all the people in the bank have been frozen using the gun, and it was used by the would-be rapists who are still in the vault packing up all the money. Shep barges in and starts beating up the guys. They try to shoot him with a gun, but he drinks a bottle of antifreeze and continues kicking their asses. This is the one moment in the movie that is burned into my brain when he says antifreeze.
It was very similar to the Dookie.
Yeah, just from when I was a kid, I remember that whole scene, and I didn't understand the joke.
I rolled my eyes so hard when I watched it. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, he has some kind of repellent, I guess." But antifreeze. Like, oh god, the writers probably high five themselves for that joke.
I very much felt like it. This is gold while typing it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When he's done, he picks up the gun, but then realizes Charlie was inadvertently frozen in the scuffle. Then the wall of the vault blows open, and the 2 bounty hunters walk in and start blasting. Shep closed the vault door on them, giving him enough time to grab Charlie and escape. Shep has to drive him home with Charlie standing up like a statue in the passenger seat.
While a Christmas song plays.
Well, yeah, because it's cold, right?
Yeah, because everybody looks like snowmen, I guess.
I suppose, but I think that kind of falls flat.
Yeah. Shep takes Charlie back to the ship and lights a fire for Charlie to thaw out. Once he thaws out, Shep tells him the bounty hunters are coming and they can easily destroy the planet. While trying to fix his ship, it shorts out, and Shep realizes that he's not going to be able to get off the planet before the bounty hunters get to him. So they go back to the house, and Shep says the only thing they could do is fight. Charlie says that there's no way that he can be of any help fighting bounty hunters with Shep. That it's not even his fight anyway. Shep says there's no other way to get off the planet unless Charlie knows where he could find a very specific sort of crystal, which Charlie knows is featured in a bunch of awards that his boss has displayed in his office. So the two of them get dressed up in tuxedos, go to Charlie's office where there's a big gala happening. Surprised they're able to find a tuxedo that fits Shep that quickly.
Right, at such short notice.
And his secretary is there to hit on Shep. They go to the office to find the crystals, but then the bounty hunters show up and they and Shep start fighting. One of them goes through the floor. Shep sends the Phenom flying up the building, crashing through every floor by jamming his rocket boots until he crashes through a toilet in the women's bathroom. Eventually, the fight winds up on the roof, and one of the bounty hunters gets crushed by an elevator, while the Phenom winds up spinning out with his rocket boots and gets sent through a concrete wall. Meanwhile, Larry Miller is stalling the Japanese businessman while he waits for Charlie for the presentation.
He's naming Godzilla movies.
Charlie drives Shep back to the spaceship and he tries to convince him that maybe it's staying on Earth. Shep says that he's too dangerous to stick around, so he tells Charlie to go back to the house and make sure that he didn't forget anything. At that moment, Emperor Suitor shows up at the front door of the Wilcox. When Charlie comes home, he finds his family being held hostage. Emperor forces Charlie to take him to Shep at the spaceship. The Emperor shoots at him, and Shep winds up taking cover in his spaceship and mans the guns ready to fire on Suitor. Suitor uses Wilcox as human shields and says he's going to kill them if he doesn't come out in 10 seconds.
So in that scene, Hogan or Shep says, like, that family means nothing to me. And I know we as the audience know he's bluffing, but truly, that family doesn't mean anything to him.
Mm-hmm.
He just rents the guest house. He doesn't really interact with the family that much outside of Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he sees the photo.
Right.
When he's eating the cake.
But a photo where he's not even smiling in. It's just him looking.
Yeah. So he sets a self-destruct sequence in the ship and comes out. A man of his word, apparently. Suitor lets the family go when they drive off. Suitor and Shep to square off. Charlie drives his family to a gas station, tells them that he needs to go back and help Shep. Suitor toys with Shep, shooting around him with his laser gun. Then Charlie drives the car through the wall and hits Suitor. Goes to check on Shep, who got shot by Suitor. And Suitor grabs Charlie and starts to throttle him, but then Charlie grabs the gauntlet from Shep's armor, and then punches Suitor right in the dick.
Yeah.
Which then transforms him into his alien form, which is very Predator-like, only cheaper.
Yeah.
Then he just starts beating the shit out of Charlie and Shep, but then Shep grabs a wire, breaks it in half, and shoves it into Suitor, electrocuting him. And then he carries Charlie out right as the timer goes to 0 on the self-destruct timer, and it explodes. The cops show...
I thought in this scene they were going to have the callback to when he tells him that the armor can take 2 shots. I thought it was going to be revealed that he had the armor on under the tuxedo, and that's why he was able to get up after getting shot, Hulk Hogan. But, alas, that was just maybe there was a scene they cut or something that came back to play. But it was just weird that they mentioned it and then never finished it.
Yeah. The cops show up and the Wilcoxes reunite with Shep and Charlie. Shep tells the family that Charlie beat Suitor single-handedly. And then as the sun rises, Charlie heads to entertain the Japanese businessmen, gives Larry Miller his plans, and quits right there on the spot. And Shep, meanwhile, is saying his goodbyes to the neighbors. He takes the kid's skateboard ride and does sick tricks to redeem himself from the last time, even though we had not seen him train on the skateboard. Then he gives the kid his skateboard, which he didn't have previously. And then helps the girl.
Where did he get that rocket-powered skateboard?
Yeah. And why did he fail so miserably the first time if he was really good?
Yeah.
We needed a scene where he and the son bond over learning how to skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
That's so easy to do.
Yeah. Like to see Hulk Hogan with like a goofy like skateboarding helmet and knee pads and arm pads. That's comedy right there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like the one of the knee pads is like a really bright color, so it sticks out. It like he really stands out wearing these pads and helmet.
Yeah, like it's the Little Sisters or something like that, and they're like pink with flowers on them.
Right. I am in like where I come from. We wear this type of battle armor. Like, well, you need to wear this, mister. You're not doing it. It's the law.
Yeah. It then helps the girl get her cat out of the tree again, but then sends her flying with a branch this time and has to catch her. And they see Shep off on his ship with Charlie's former secretary going on a ride. And the movie ends with Charlie shooting a stoplight on his cube, finally falling down. And that's the end. That's the end of Suburban Commando. Hulk Hogan's not great, but I had fun with it for the most part.
Yeah. I was just the weirdest moment for me in this whole movie was near the end where Hulk Hogan put someone else over.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Hogan takes a couple bumps in this movie.
Yeah, he couldn't. He didn't take credit for killing the alien. He gave someone else credit.
Yeah,
that's right.
Hogan would never do that.
That'd be great if Shelley Duvall asked Christopher Lloyd, "Oh, did you beat him?" And Christopher Lloyd's about to say that he did, and Shep comes in. Well, actually, brother, I was the one who slammed that General Shooter down on the ground in front of everybody. Gave him the leg.
The only scene that I think was kind of missing that could have put a good clamp on the end of the movie is when Hogan flies away at the end. If when they turn around, the Japanese businessmen are there and offer Christopher Lloyd's character a job with them or something.
Right.
I think that would have been a good cap to that story.
Sure. All right. Well, that is Suburban Commando. We're going to take a quick break and listen to some ads, and we're going to be right back with the third segment. So don't go anywhere. And welcome back. Now it's time for our third segment. And this third segment is called actually Hulk Hogan Lies.
Ooh.
So I have 8 Hulk Hogan lies. However, these lies are lies in and of themselves. So what I mean by that, I have 8 things that Hulk Hogan has been on record as saying is true. However, I have changed some of the details of these lies. You have to tell me what his actual lie is and what the incorrect information is. Does that make any sense? So I have 8 here, and buzz in with your favorite wrestling catchphrase. There we go. Okay, the first lie. Hulk Hogan auditioned to be the drummer for Metallica.
Right, we have to figure out what in that is the lie, right?
Yes. I'm going to say so the lie is that he was going to...
You're buzzing, Dan?
I said, woo!
Okay.
Okay.
I would say the lie is that he auditioned to be the drummer.
Well, okay, so
okay.
Hulk Hogan auditioned to be the drummer for Metallica. That's what I'm proposing. What's the lie? What's the truth of what's the true lie? He's said something to this point, but there's something incorrect in what I've said. Correct that statement.
Okay. So it wasn't for Metallica. Is that the lie?
That's incorrect.
Oh, okay.
Mark.
Cream of the crop. It was actually to be the bass player, not the drummer.
That's correct. Actually, he said James Hetfield does not corroborate the story. All right. So do you guys get it?
So the
I got it.
The lie was the drummer part. He actually he said he was going to be the bassist.
But we have to say what the truth is.
Yes.
Right. And the truth was
the true lie, though.
Yeah, because it's still a lie.
Exactly.
What I mean by truth is what Hogan actually said.
Hulk Hogan's truth.
It's Hogan's truth. Okay.
Yes.
His alternate facts.
Yeah.
Yes.
His alternate facts. Okay.
Okay. Next one. Hogan outdrank John Belushi night of WrestleMania 3.
I don't know. WrestleMania 3.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
Dan.
Before WrestleMania 3.
Say it again.
He said he actually outdrank Andre the Giant before WrestleMania 3.
That is incorrect.
See, in my head, I'm trying to think when John Belushi died. Let's see. Cream rises to the top. Actually, Hulk Hogan outdrank John Belushi before WrestleMania 1.
Oh, so close, but you are on the right track. Actually, he claims it was after, even though Belushi died 4 years prior.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be one of the ones connected to New York. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Next one. Hogan's biggest supporter when he started out in Nashville was Elvis.
I think I've heard this one.
Cream rises to the top.
All right, Mark.
Hogan, when he started in Memphis, his biggest supporter was Elvis.
That's correct. Actually, he started in Memphis, but even so, Elvis died 2 years prior to Hogan's debut.
Mark knows his Hogan.
Well, it's more wrestling because Memphis was the wrestling city, not Nashville. That's Jerry Lawler's USWA.
All right, next one. Andre the Giant weighed 700 pounds when Hogan body slammed him at WrestleMania.
700 pounds? Yeah, woo!
Okay.
Actually, Andre the Giant didn't weigh 700 pounds. He weighed, I don't know, 500 pounds?
I'm going to give you partial credit for that one. Okay. All right. So, actually, Hogan only goes so far as to claim Andre was pounds, even though he was only originally 25 during that period.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got the actual truth right. So that's what I'm going to give you half.
Gotcha.
All right. Next one. Before the role went to Mickey Rourke, Hulk Hogan almost starred in Iron Man 2.
Dream rises to the top.
Mark.
Actually, Hulk Hogan almost started in The Wrestler before it went to Mickey Rourke.
That's correct. Actually, Hogan claims that he was offered the wrestler to Mickey Rourke. Director Darren Aronofsky claims this is untrue.
Hogan's lies. It's well, no, I'll leave that till the podcast is over.
All right, next one. Hogan claimed that in one calendar year, due to constantly traveling to Japan and the effects of time zone, technically wrestled 375 days.
Dream rises to the top.
All right, Mark.
Actually, Hogan said he wrestled over 400 days.
That's correct.
Year.
Wow.
I figured this would lean a little heavy in terms of this because this is all about wrestling. But
that one I knew. I've heard that story.
Yep. His lie is somehow more ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. I got two left.
Okay.
Hogan invited a Make-A-Wish kid to SummerSlam 1991 Madison. But when he looked out to the seat, the kid wasn't there, so he knew the kid had died.
These are great. Even if I don't know them, these are just so good.
I don't even know what could be the lie here.
This could have been even longer because it was ridiculous.
So, all right, say it one more time, Ant. I'm sorry.
Hogan invited a Make-A-Wish kid to SummerSlam 1991. But when he looked out to the seat, the kid wasn't there, so he knew the kid had died.
Oh, man. Woo!
Dan.
Did Hogan actually invited a kid to a SummerSlam at a different time? Like 1989? 1990?
You are correct in what the incorrectness is, but I'm not going to give you the points because you didn't get the right one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Actually... Hogan invited him to the Royal Rumble in 1991 in New York City?
Incorrect. Actually, Hogan says that this happened at the 1992 SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium in London. Hogan was not on the card that SummerSlam and didn't wrestle in Wembley Stadium until he went to WCW.
That's great.
All right. Here's the last one, and this one just makes me laugh. He has a 10-inch penis.
Actually, I think I've actually heard. Woo.
Yep.
Actually, I don't know what the exact. I know it's not 10 inches, but the reason he had to take the stand in the Gawker trial, and refute that he had a 10-inch penis on the stand.
I'll give it to you. But actually, Hogan had to make a distinction in court during the Gawker trial that Terry Bollea does not have a penis, but the character of Hulk Hogan does.
Wow, that's so pathetic.
All right, and that's all I have for actually Hulk Hogan's lies.
That was really good.
Pretty good.
Those are so good.
That last one sounds like very much a Vince McMahon-ism with characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that wasn't so-and-so. That was his character.
Right. Yeah. He definitely has a 10-inch penis, Hulk Hogan. The funny thing is you could see it through the trunks. You could basically see the outline of it, and it's not 10 inches.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't know what the actual measurement is.
All right, guys. That is our episode. Mark ran away with it.
Good job, Mark. That was well played.
I do enjoy that the one that Dan was confident in was the one that had to do with Hulk Hogan's penis.
Yeah, Dan's seen a lot of penis. So,
I'm on record as saying that, so I don't like an uncomfortable amount of penis. for a straight man, I have seen a ton of it.
all right. Yeah, that's our episode, Suburban Commando. Check us out on our socials, on Instagram and X formerly known as Twitter at TicTamPod, as well as Threads. Check us out on TikTok. They call it Some Movie. Check us out. Hit us up in an email, TicTamPod@gmail.com. Tell us what your favorite Hulk Hogan lie is. And yeah. And check us out on YouTube. Check out our videos there. And I think those are all the ways you could get a hold of us. So it's going to wrap us up. The director of Suburban Commando is Burt Kennedy. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony DeVecchio telling Burt Kennedy, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.